I'm here today with my January wrap-up. I read 9 books in January, quite a variety of things, and let's get right into it. So the first 2 books I'm going to talk about are graphic novels, and I have reviewed these as well as some other standalone graphic novels in a recent video, which I will link around these parts somewhere if you would like to go check it out. So I'm not going to talk about them too much because you can go check out that video if you would like to hear more. The first book is I Kill Giants. This is written by Joe Kelly and illustrated by Jim Nimura, and it's a beautiful story about a young girl who is kind of an outcast, and she tells everyone that she is a giant killer. And we kind of find out throughout the story about the fantasy world that she lives in and why she has created it. This was absolutely heartbreaking. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars, which is rare for me for a graphic novel, so that definitely speaks highly of it, and I highly, highly recommend it. The second book is a beautiful book that I've been meaning to get around forever, and I received for Christmas, and that is the Encyclopedia of Early Earth by Isabel Greenberg, and this is a story steeped in myth about a boy who has to go on a journey to find the lost piece of his soul. More or less. This is really beautifully illustrated. The coloring is very minimal on each page, and I enjoyed this. And again, I talk about this more in that graphic novels review video, which I will link for you so you can check it out. I finished a couple of books that I had started in December, and one of them I think even before December, and that one is Writing Down the Bones, Freeing the Writer Within by Natalie Goldberg. This is a really famous piece of writing about writing, and it was really awesome. And not just, I'm not a writer per se, but not just for writers, but just for people. It's about expressing your emotions and overcoming obstacles in a way. Each chapter is very unique and has different tips. I clearly flagged all kinds of passages in this, and I found it to be really great. I gave it 4 stars overall. Again, some great advice if you are a writer, and some great advice even for someone like me where I journal a lot, about just sitting down and putting words on a page and kind of getting into a zone where you're not holding back and you're letting kind of your emotions pour out on the page without thinking too much about them. I thought that that was really fascinating and great advice. So I would definitely suggest this. The next books that I had started in December and finished in January is Pull Me Under by Kelly Luce. This was my Book of the Month book for December, and I have done a full review of this, which I will link again around here somewhere, so you can go check that out if you are interested. But this is about a woman who was born in Japan, and she was half white, half Japanese, and at age 12 she kind of snaps and kills a boy who has been bullying her. And it's about her life after that and kind of how she reconciles with her lineage, with being half Japanese and half white, and how she deals with her life in the aftermath of murdering that boy. So it was good. I gave it 3 stars, and again, I have a full review if you are interested in hearing more of my thoughts on it. The next book is a reread for me, and that's Fall on Your Knees by Anne-Marie MacDonald. This is one of my very, very favorite books of all time, and one that I have literally never heard anyone else on BookTube speak about, so I cannot recommend this enough. I think it's absolutely phenomenal, and this follows a family who live on Cape Breton Island, and it mostly follows the 4 daughters of the family throughout their life, and numerous tragedies and abuse, and oh my gosh, it's the most heartbreaking and beautiful book. If you like family dramas or family sagas, I would definitely recommend this. Again, the audiobook was really good, but I preferred the paperback for my first read through. I think it would be a little bit difficult to follow on audiobook if you haven't read it before. But I really enjoyed the reread. I'm glad I got the chance to listen to it, and 5 stars. This book is amazing. book that I didn't care for so much is The Grown-Up by Gillian Flynn, who's, of course, the author of Gone Girl. I received this, as you may know if you have a Book of the Month subscription, for free in my January box, and I would never have picked this up on my own. I did not particularly care for Gone Girl. I did not particularly care for this, and I will be doing a full review of this, talking about why I did not care for it. So look forward to that if you want to hear more. Most of my January was consumed by this chunker, which is The Stand by Stephen King. This is ginormous. It's roughly 1,200 pages long. I received this as a Christmas gift from a good friend, and this is not horror in the kind of traditional way we think about Stephen King. It's only the second book of his that I've read, and I'm not going to review this book on the channel, but I do have a full review on Goodreads if you'd like to check that out. This is set in a post-apocalyptic America where the government kind of fucks up and lets loose a virus that kills 99% of the population, and it follows the survivors who are immune to the virus, and two factions kind of emerge in this world. One is evil and one is good, and it follows characters from both sides and what their lives are like in the aftermath of this tragedy. It was interesting. It was slightly problematic, but I read the whole thing. I was engrossed by the characters, but I did have some issues with it. So, again, check out my full review on Goodreads if you're interested, because I don't want to talk about it too much. It's not the kind of thing I would normally read, so I'm glad I kind of branched out and gave it a shot. But it was long. It took up most of my month. I'm just glad I finished it. So that will probably be the longest book I read this year. I also listened to an audiobook this month, and that is Redefining Realness, My Path to Womanhood, Identity, Love, and So Much More by Janet Mock. Janet Mock is a Black trans woman who grew up in the U.S. She lived in Texas and Hawaii, and this tells the story of her family and also the story of her realizing that she was trans. It's a really gorgeous book. It's a really important book. I've been wanting to listen to it forever. The audiobook is read by Janet Mock, and it is fabulous. She has lived a very interesting life, and I enjoyed reading about a trans woman of color, which you don't get to read about too much in fiction or nonfiction. So as far as kind of own voices books, this is definitely one to check out. So I enjoyed that a lot. I gave that 4 stars. Next I read the first book in the Dreamblood duology by N.K. Jemisin. The first book is called The Killing Moon, and this is a fantasy series set in kind of a fictional Egypt, kind of a fictional ancient Egypt, and the people in this world worship a goddess who is kind of the goddess of dreams, and there's a magic system that's based very much in dreams. The characters in the book believe that there are 2 worlds. One is the waking world and one is the dream world, and there are healers who can kind of take the essence of dreams and heal people, and then there are a faction of people also called gatherers who basically go into people's dreams and put them to rest. They kill them in a very peaceful way. It's a really interesting magic system, super fascinating religious system, and there's a lot of political intrigue in this book. So I'm about a third of the way through the second book in the duology, which is called The Shadowed Sun, and I'm enjoying that as well. I really love N.K. Jemisin's writing. I think she's an absolutely beautiful and fantastic writer. I find myself really fascinated with her descriptions of people and places, and the way she develops the magic system and the religious system, and her world building is just so complex, but she feeds you a little bit at a time in a way that makes it easy to comprehend, but also leaves you with some questions about what's going on in this world, which I like. So there's some intrigue, and she doesn't just feed you all of the answers, if that makes sense. Absolutely loved it. Love N.K. Jemisin. I think her work is phenomenal. So I would definitely recommend this, especially if you were a fan of the Fifth Season and the Obelisk, which are the only other books I've read by her, and I adored them as well. That's all that I read in January. It's a pretty short wrap-up. Again, check out the reviews of the books that I didn't talk about too much in this video if you're interested. And if you've read any of these books and would like to talk about them in the comments, please let me know. And I hope you all have a lovely day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will be back soon. Bye.